Patrick Netherton Show, 11:30 The Tiger. He's Rogers, I'm Patrick, and we're pleased to welcome in one of our favorites, the GOAT of all the college basketball writers out there. From Sporting News, he is Mike DeCourcy, who is kind enough to join us, and not only Sporting News, but also Big Ten Network. So he is he's right there in the middle of all of the Juwan Howard, Greg Gard saga. Mike, it's been too long, brother. How are you?
I am right in the middle of all that. You're absolutely right. Hey, it's great to hear your voice, Patrick. Absolutely.
Man, it's fantastic to have you back. And obviously, we're kind of transitioning into college basketball now anyway, so we would have you on. But with the Greg Gard, Juwan Howard stuff, it felt like an even better time to have Mr. Big Ten Network come on. I couldn't, Dave Revson turned me down, so I went to you, Mike, is what it amounted to. Look, I'm on record as saying I think 5 games is too light. I think Juwan Howard should have been suspended for the rest of the season, and I would have entertained getting fired. Second offense, he escalated the situation. He threw the punch. He's kind of displaying now a pattern of behavior that is concerning. He didn't apologize in the immediate aftermath. We knew that if he came out with a written apology, it would ring hollow, and it did, and he didn't mention Greg Gard in it. Where do you fall on the 5-game suspension and just how all of this went down in general?
Well, I first of all, those are two different items there. I think the Big Ten knocked this out of the park. I mean, I think everything about the way they handled this thing was perfect, and I don't know how much you paid attention to how much guff, to put it lightly, Kevin Warren as commissioner got for the on-again, off-again football season, or off-again, on-again football season of 2020
right.
with COVID. He took a lot of heat, and I still don't believe that it was his decision. I know how the Big Ten works, and it's a president-driven league, and
sure.
I think they made the decision to not at first have football and then ultimately to go back to it. But he took all the heat for that, and so now he's in a very public circumstance with a difficult decision to make, and I think they got everything right. I thought 5 games was ideal. It does create the possibility of a uncomfortable circumstance in the Big Ten tournament. Mm-hmm. What if Michigan and Wisconsin play one another?
Yeah.
I think it gives them, but I think they looked at it perhaps, I'm just guessing here, that if that does come about, an opportunity to clear the air a little bit, have those guys meet at center court and shake hands and come out basketballing instead of fighting. And so I thought it was just right, honestly. I think that to call it a second offense is, I think, extreme, to be honest, because the last one was certainly not good. The guys get ejected from games all the time, and every now and then, not that often, you'll see coaches yell down at each other's benches. This one went a little bit more because Juwan actually wasn't even affronting Maryland's bench when it started, but he did get too close to their huddle and therefore did. But it still wasn't a big deal. It only became a big deal because this happened. And to me, this on its own was plenty. The fact that it's a second circumstance where he got angry at an opposing coach, to me, that warrants a repair. He needs to discuss this. And whether you want to call it anger management or counseling or whatever, there has to be some element of that in this. And I would be shocked if there weren't.
Yeah.
As I wrote, I don't need to know about it, but it needs to happen. And because that is not a normal behavior. To have issues in a conference between coaches rise to that level. It doesn't happen often. The much more common circumstance is guys compete like heck to try to beat one another, but really kind of like each other.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as they don't want to, can't help it. He's a good guy. I'm a good guy. I like him.
Yeah.
That happens way more often. When I was covering Hugs at Cincinnati in the late '90s, in the year 2000. I don't remember what year it was, but one year the Bearcats played at St. Louis, and I think we stayed at the Marriott or something, and the game was over, and I was done with my article, and I went down to the hotel bar and was around the staff, and here comes Charlie Spoonhour to have a beer with Hud.
Yeah.
and that happens. That's much more common than what happened here. So it has to be addressed, and I think it will be. And I'm much more in favor. I like Juwan. I think he's bright. I think he's engaging. I think he's got his players love him. I mean, they really love him. They want to play for him, and so I don't want to see Juwan not coach. I want to see him coach better.
Again, I was initial reaction was fire him, and then I walked that back, and I was like, okay, but to me, it doesn't feel like he deserves to coach the rest of this year. Like that's just to me, it's too far, and I don't know what the assistant coach for Wisconsin said or didn't say, what that escalated to, and why he took a swing at him. But Mike, he's supposed to be the one with the maturity. He's leading these kids. The kids were more mature than he was. And I got a problem with that. I think it's one of those, look, you know, 5 games is fine, but don't let him coach. I mean, why does he deserve to get to go coach the Big Ten tournament and potentially an NCAA tournament if they should get there after this incident? Potentially.
Let's not forget, like, if you're in a regular season Stanley Cup or NBA playoff series, okay? I mean, if you're in a regular season NHL or NBA game and they suspend you for 5 games, that's a lot, right? I mean, you play 80 games, 5 games a lot. But if you are in the Stanley Cup playoffs and they suspend you for 5 games, that's huge. I mean, you might only get 7 of them. You might only get 4.
Right.
They're suspending you for 5. And I think you have to look at it like, okay, they're trying to make the NCAA tournament. They are anything but in. As a matter of fact, in my personal bracket that was released at CBB on Fox today, they're not in. Some others have them in. I don't. I don't know whether I'm right or Lenardi's right or Palm's right, but I have them out. So either way, it's not a clear decision. And they're now going to play 5 really difficult games without their head coach, and also one without their talented freshman Musa Diabate and a reserve named Terrence Williams. They're going to play one without him too. So I think the fact that those games are so important, to me, it's almost like being suspended for multiple NBA or Stanley Cup playoff games.
Yeah. Do you think this is, I mean, complete hypothetical, so feel free to just dodge this question entirely. But if he had swung on a player from Wisconsin.
Yeah, I've heard that, and I heard that discussed today, and he didn't.
No, he didn't. That's why I said complete hypothetical.
So that's why, to me, I don't think we need to get to hypothetical.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
What he did was plenty to warrant the suspension, and this is the truth. However they do handle it internally, whether they follow my advice, so to speak, to have this addressed in some way, there's no question that, I mean, if he swings a baseball bat now in a batting cage, he's in trouble. I mean, like, there's no more swinging allowed for him. And there's probably no more yelling at the opposing bench allowed for him. I mean, he can't do that stuff anymore. He can't have a bad handshake line. It's huge for him now. I hate those things.
I know. That was where I was headed next anyway, was do we just abolish the handshake line?
Yeah, to me, I'm not advocating for a rule that says nobody's allowed to shake hands. I'm just saying that this choreographed mandate that every player and coach have to go through only in college basketball. I mean, I heard Rick Neuheisel on a radio today talking about how he thinks it's bad to try to go away from it because he always enjoyed shaking hands with the opposing coach. He didn't have to shake hands with 85 players; just shook one hand.
No, but they do. I mean, typically in college, typically in college football, though, the teams will go and meet at midfield.
So do that. But you don't have to go through this conga line thing that like. And if you don't feel like it, nobody notices. Maybe with the head coach they do. Yeah. But if I'm the quarterback and I'm just like tired and I don't like anybody from that team and I got hit too many times, I can just leave and nobody says a word. Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. If I'm a star point guard for State U and I say I don't want to shake their hand, they were flopping all night. I'm mad, and I leave for the locker room. It gets called out, and that's what I'm talking about. Also, it's an obligation.
Yeah, and also it's always awkward because I watch and see does everyone shake hands? Do they fist bump? Do they do that sort of kind of slap five thing as they go by? Do they do the Krzyzewski where they grab your hand and then put the other hand on your chest, like Krzyzewski always does? Like, it's always awkward to determine what's everyone. There's no, if nothing else, Mike, can we at least get a standardized handshake out of this thing where we're all fist bumping, we're all handshaking, or we're all slapping five or whatever? Because it's so awkward to watch. It's like watching golfers high five their caddies. It's never not awkward.
Well, I since we can't get a standard handshake in life, I thought the fist bump would be huge coming out of the pandemic, and it's like everybody's going like, well, what do I do? I don't know. I don't think we can get that.
No, I can't tell you how many times. And look, I'm not a germaphobe, but I just don't like shaking hands. Period. I've always been a fist bump guy, and I can't tell you how many times I've gone to fist bump someone and their hands out, and we get that awkward paper beats rock interaction right there. Like it's ridiculous. Talking
You're
to Mike.
winning.
Go
You're
ahead.
winning most of your interactions. Like, nobody ever comes at you with the scissors. So.
That's true. So I'm losing. Like, I lose every time because they come at me with paper every time. Yeah, every time.
Right.
Talking to Mike DeCourcy from Sporting News, and as he mentioned, he puts out his poll on Fox as well. So go check that out over on college basketball on Fox. All right, let's kind of step away. We've only got a few minutes left. Big picture college basketball. I'll be honest, I'm late to college basketball this year. I'm normally much more into it. I've had some other stuff going on, just haven't really followed. Obviously, we've seen, the Coach K retirement caravan continues. We've seen Bruce Pearl and what Auburn's getting done. Arizona's kind of crept up and had some success. Tell me about college basketball. For those of us that are maybe getting here late, what have we missed and what do we need to pay attention to moving forward?
Well, I'm first of all, shame.
Yes,
Patrick,
I'll take all of your shame. I will take all of your shame. I freely admit to it.
Okay, that's first. And secondly, it's one of the interesting things about this season to me is that Gonzaga's great, and Auburn's great, and Arizona's great, Baylor's great, Kentucky, et cetera, Purdue at certain elements of the game, great. So there's some terrific teams out there, but everybody's got flaws. And it starts with the most important position on the floor, point guard. It's as if to put it in into a phrase or a concept that every Southerner could understand. It's like every college basketball team has JT Daniels at point guard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, good enough, but not great. And great is what usually wins at that position in this deal. But this year, somebody is likely to win the NCAA championships with their own JT Daniels. That's what we're looking at.
Yeah, and the bigs, we've had look, I thought for a long time college basketball was moving away from big men. But this year it seems like we've got nothing but big men starring.
Yeah, because there's no place for them to go. With NIL, this is now the most lucrative place for somebody like Kofi Coburn or Oscar Tshiebwe. Or Zach Edey at Purdue. This is Christian Coloco at Arizona. This is where they can maybe make a little side money, and they so many of those guys are struggling to get noticed by NBA teams. You look at mock drafts, and they don't have any centers at all on them most of the time. Very rare for them to have that. Kofi Coburn comes along 15 years earlier, and he plays 1 year and gets drafted in the first 5 players. And now he's in his third year of college, and he's great, but he's not great at the things that they value now in that league.
Yeah.
And he'll make money playing hoops, and he might even make it there, but he's not going to be what he would have been.
Yeah, he's not a stretch four.
Sooner.
He's not a stretch four.
Oh, no. I mean, he's not a stretch four. He's not even a mobile ball screen guarding 5. He's not that either. He struggles with that a little bit. And so it's going to be a challenge for him to get an NBA job, and unless he can find a way to improve at those aspects of the game between now and the end of his career.
All right, let me back out even farther now, or further, I should say, because it's not an actual distance. Let's back out further a little bit. And I want to talk about college athletics as a whole. We just saw that the conference commissioners couldn't get together to expand the college football playoff from 4 to anything else. We've seen that we're hearing rumors that the Power Five wants to break away, form their own thing, get away from the NCAA, all of this stuff. Do you foresee any of this happening? Because it feels like every time we let the conference commissioners try to decide something, none of them can get on the same page about anything. How could they possibly break away and do their own thing and do it effectively?
I still don't understand what the value of that is. Like, what are they? Okay, right now they keep all but maybe like the coins in their shoes of the football money. Right now, I mean, it all goes to them. I think they still pay a sanctioning fee to the NCAA, which is a pittance. I mean, I'm a literal pittance.
Hush money.
And so, no, it's
I know.
It's always been the bowls have to get paid.
Right.
They have to pay a small sanctioning fee or whatever. I think they still do that, but it's not. No, it's not anywhere near. It's not even. I'm not even thinking six figures now. So there's that. They get all the football money. They make all their own rules.